Today we're going to go over 5 of the 10 best tips from the free business strategy game tips guide. These tips are both for students about to play the business strategy game and existing players regardless of what place you're in. For those of you who are watching the video from YouTube and not my website, BSGOnline.com, my name is Dave. I play the business strategy game multiple times myself during college and then even more in invitational competitions. I've placed first in the world in both the class games and invitational competitions, including reaching the BSG Grandmaster status by taking first place in the Best Strategy Invitational. The advice I'm giving you is based off of the games I've played myself and seen at the highest levels of play, combined with the dozens of teams I've personally coached from first to last place from my website. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The first tip is to always check for price elasticity. The business strategy game uses ranges to compute price and demand and not a fluid curve. So, if you predict the industry average on the sales forecast screen of shoes in North America to be $50, the business strategy game might compute that you'll sell 3 million pairs of shoes in North America if you set your price between $49 and $51. So the way you implement this is you predict what the industry average is going to be for North America, and then when you're going to your wholesale distribution screen, you make sure to increase your price a little bit and see if it affects your inventory surplus. Oftentimes you can increase your price $1, $1.50, and not see any change in surplus. Now there are a few caveats to this, and the caveats are the ranges become wider as teams' SQ and mall number strategies start to deviate more. And this normally happens the most intensely during the later stages of the game. So if you try this and you're in years 1, 2, or 3, and you're not really seeing any change, keep on doing it. I guarantee it'll start working in the later years, whether it's 16, 17, 18, or 19. Okay, and the next tip is buy back stock early. Buying back stock is one of the only tips in the game you can do that will instantly guarantee a higher score. It's because it increases almost every metric you're graded on. Your EPS goes up dramatically, your ROE goes up dramatically, and you can pay higher dividend while spending less cash. And then your stock price, of course, goes up because you're paying a higher earnings per share, a higher return on equity, and a higher dividend. Just to run through the math real quick, in year 10, you have a profit of 25 million and you have 10 million shares outstanding. That comes out to an earnings per share of $2.50. The business strategy game allows you to buy back a total of 2.5 million shares. So if you bought back all 2.5 million of those shares, your EPS would jump to $3.33 because you'd have 25 going into 7.5 million. That's roughly a 40% jump in score, which is huge. It's really important that you do this early on in the game because the game limits how much stock you can buy back a year. It didn't used to be that way, but because people were taking advantage of it and they were buying back all their stock or taking their stock and buying it back really cheap, now it takes on average of 5 years to buy it all back. If you're following the right strategies too, your stock price is going to get really high in the later stages of the game, so you need to do it early. It's not uncommon to have stock prices of $300 to $1,000 during your final years, and that's 10 to 30 times higher than your starting stock price. And the third reason is, this is a little more advanced, but it allows you to do a debt equity swap. I don't recommend doing that. We get more into it in the paid guide, but it's a really effective tactic in certain situations. Okay, and the next tip is buy celebrities with long-term contracts in the early stages of the game. Celebrity purchase prices normally follow either a bell curve or a logarithmic curve, which means they'll start out relatively low and then peak and fall off, or peak and barely increase during the final years. So once again, focus on the celebrities with the longest contracts in the first few years. I suggest paying between $2 and $5 million for them. Use your judgment though. Celebrity pricing is based on class metagame and it's not an actual science. The goal is to buy long-term contracts at the lowest rates so you can be as effective as possible in the middle game. One of the biggest mistakes I see in the BSG is people overspend for celebrities. So you don't get caught up in all of that stuff, the bidding wars, because they end up becoming not cost effective. The one exception to this rule is when no one bids on celebrities in the practice rounds and multiple teams do poorly, Celebrities can sometimes start out in a highly competitive in this situation. So once again, just go off your gut in what the class is doing and try to price accordingly. Okay, the next tip is always predict material prices. I'm sure in class you've heard students say something along the lines of, we just don't know what happened. The game said our EPS was going to be $3.50, but we ended up with negative $1.50. That's because in large part they're not predicting their material prices, and I don't blame them. It's kind of hard to see the prediction button. It's located on the branded production screen. If you look in the upper left hand side, you'll see a small box that looks like a graph and it's half filled with green. That's the material predictions box. The prices of superior and standard materials are based on supply and demand functions, and we get more into the actual predictions in the paid strategy guide, but as a general rule of thumb, it works like this. If more teams are using a high SQ strategy, then they'll be using more superior materials, and thus the cost will rise because the demand increases. The opposite is also true. The more teams pursuing a high SQ strategy will drive the cost of standard materials down. So to predict it, just look at teams who have strategies with their SQ ratings going up, and if they are, guesstimate an increase in superior material prices. Okay, the final tip is always refinance loans. If you're employing a successful strategy, you will be carrying debt. And it's important to look for opportunities to refinance your outstanding debt to increase your cash flow. It's very simple to do. First, at the beginning of each decision round, check if interest rates have fallen or if your credit rating is improved. And then go to your balance and cash flow report to see which loans outstanding have higher interest rates than you can currently get. And then go to the finance screen and take out loans for the same amount while paying off the existing ones. You can group multiple smaller loans together as well. Okay, those are the 5 tips we're going to go over today. I'd like to say thank you. I really have appreciated all the support and positive feedback you guys have given me over the past few years. It means a lot and helps me keep going. If you guys want to look at any of the slides, I've uploaded in the SlideShare. The link's below in the description. If you have any questions or comments or want clarifications, please feel free to comment below or press the like button. I know the BSG can be hard to understand at first, and sometimes I leave out things because of my familiarity with the game. I respond to all the comments the same day, so I know sometimes you could be in a hurry. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. For the next 5 tips, you'll have to head on over to my website and request your free copy of the guide. You'll find all the information you need there to pick a winning strategy and execute it. The website's below, winbsgonline.com. And once again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment box below.